If you are seeing this right now, it is no accident. Something in your energetic field has guided you here, and you need to hear every word I'm about to say. Because in exactly 72 hours, the sky is going to do something that occurs only once every 30 years, and the vast majority of people will not even notice. On November 2nd, while the world sleeps in its unconsciousness, a silent yet devastatingly powerful planetary configuration will activate above our heads. There will be no fireworks, no dramatic eclipses. But for those of you who are already awakening, for those whose spiritual DNA is beginning to remember, this event will be the most profound trigger you have ever experienced in this incarnation. The moon, nearly full day, will position itself between two cosmic giants, Saturn and Neptune. And as this happens, Jupiter and Venus will be orchestrating from their position in the firmament something that ancient astrologers called the divine scanner. This is a moment where the universe doesn't just observe you. It reads you. It scans you down to the deepest levels of your soul. And here is the part you must understand with absolute clarity. This configuration is not coming to bless everyone. It is coming to reveal, to separate, and to expose who you truly are beneath all the masks you have worn to survive in this dense plane of existence. There are 7 cosmic truths that this alignment will force to the surface of your consciousness. 7 realities about your nature that you have been sensing but denying. 7 aspects of your spiritual design that, once activated, will irreversibly change the way you experience this reality. And with this activation comes a warning. If you do not understand what is happening, if you misinterpret the signals, if you resist the process, this energy could fragment you instead of elevating you. It can expose you before you are ready. It can isolate you from those who are not yet prepared to see who you truly are. This is why you have been called to this message. Your frequency is already beginning to accelerate. Your auric field is already detecting the pressure of what is approaching. The synchronicities that brought you here are not accidents. They are confirmations that your system is awakening to something the logical mind cannot yet name. This is not for everyone. It is for those who always knew they were different, for those who never quite fit in, for those who have been waiting without knowing for what, but knowing that something profound was on its way. The universe is about to validate everything you have felt in silence. But first, you must understand exactly what is descending upon this planet. And more importantly, you need to know how to prepare so that it does not consume you. Your reality is about to shift, and there is no going back. Let me show you precisely what is happening in the sky. Not as a simple astronomical event, but as what it truly is, a massive activation portal. On the night of November 2nd, the moon will be between 86 and 88% illuminated. Not completely full, but bright enough to act as a giant amplifier for everything it touches. And on that specific night, its position in the sign of Piscis places it in the most mystical, most permeable, most difficult to contain territory of the zodiac. Piscis is where boundaries dissolve, where the visible and the invisible blend, where your conscious mind loses its grip and your subconscious mind begins to bleed into your waking reality. And right in that space, the moon will encounter Saturn, the lord of time, the architect of structure, the planet that permits no illusions, tolerates no falsehoods, and demands that you see the truth of what you have built in your life. But here is the detail that most astrologers overlook. Right next to Saturn, almost invisible to the naked eye, is Neptune, the cosmic solvent, the planet of dreams, visions, and the direct connection to higher dimensions. Do you understand what this means? Saturn wants to show you the hard truth. Neptune wants to dissolve what you believed was solid. And the moon is amplifying both frequencies simultaneously. It is as if the universe is holding a mirror up to you, and at the same time, that mirror is beginning to melt, revealing that behind your reflection lies something far more vast, more ancient, and more powerful than you ever allowed yourself to believe. But it does not stop there. Jupiter, the planet of expansion, the one that knows no limits and magnifies everything it touches, is positioned to force this energy outward. It is declaring, you can no longer keep this inside. You can no longer pretend to be small. You can no longer hide. And Venus, the planet of magnetism and attraction, is ensuring this activation doesn't just happen within you. It is ensuring it reflects in your relationships, in the people you attract, and in the situations you begin to magnetize into your field. The ancient celestial observers had a name for this type of configuration. They called it the divine tribunal, a moment where the cosmos itself evaluates if you are ready to receive the next phase of your mission. And here is what you must etch into your consciousness. This event is not designed for those who are asleep. They will experience it as just another night. Perhaps they will feel some nostalgia, perhaps they will sleep, but nothing more. But for you, for those already tuned in, for those already feeling the pressure in the chest, the restlessness in the solar plexus, the intrusive thoughts about purpose and mission, this will be an internal earthquake, because what is happening is not just an alignment of giant rocks in space. It is an activation code. It is a key being inserted into locks within your DNA that have been waiting for this specific moment to turn. Do you feel that tingling as I speak of this? That sense of deep recognition? It is not your imagination. It is your energy field confirming that this is true for you. The first truth this alignment will force to the surface is the most terrifying one for those who have spent their entire lives trying to fit in. You are going to be seen, not because you choose it, not because you are ready, and not because you have prepared the perfect stage. You will be seen because your energetic frequency is about to become so bright, so unmistakable, that hiding it will be impossible. Let me explain the mechanics of what is happening. Jupiter acts as a magnifying glass. Everything you are, all the qualities you have been compressing, all the capabilities you have been minimizing so as not to intimidate others, will be amplified. Venus acts as a magnet. The situations, the conversations and the opportunities that force you to show yourself will begin to appear. You will not be able to avoid them. It will be as if the universe is conspiring to put you in the spotlight. And Saturn, the strict master, is saying, enough. Enough time has passed. If you continue to hide, I will force you out in a much more uncomfortable way. For many of you, this is already beginning. Have you noticed people looking at you differently, asking you questions they never asked before? Seeking you out for advice you were never asked for previously? Something in your field is changing, and they are sensing it before you can consciously process it. And here comes the part that generates the most resistance. When you are seen in this way, when your true nature begins to filter through the cracks of your social mask, not everyone will celebrate it. Some will feel threatened, because your light shows them their darkness, your clarity shows them their confusion, your inner certainty shows them their dependence on external validation. There will be pushback. There will be uncomfortable questions. There will be people who have known you for years saying, I don't recognize you anymore. What happened to you? And the answer is simple. Nothing happened to you. You simply stopped pretending. On November 2nd, the moon in Piscis will dissolve the final barriers between your public self and your private self. What you have been feeling internally will begin to bleed outward. Your face will reflect your truth. Your voice will carry your real frequency. Your very presence will communicate what your words never could. And do you know what is the most beautiful and terrifying part of this? You will not be able to control it. You cannot turn it off. You cannot go back to being small. This is irreversible. The chosen were not chosen to remain silent. They were chosen to be lighthouses, and a lighthouse cannot hide its light without betraying its very purpose. If you feel afraid of being seen, if you feel panic at the thought of them discovering who you really are, I understand you. I have been there. Everyone who walks this path has been there. But let me tell you something that will change your perspective. The fear of being seen is not yours. It is a program. It is a protection you installed when you were a child, because showing yourself fully resulted in rejection or punishment. But that child no longer exists, and the people who rejected you then no longer have power over you unless you continue to give it to them. The universe is about to take that option away, because as long as you keep hiding, your mission cannot activate, your tribe cannot find you, and your true work cannot begin. So instead of resisting, instead of contracting, I invite you to do something radical. Surrender to the revelation. Let them see you. Let your energy speak. Let your frequency do the filtering for you. Because here is the truth Saturn wants you to understand. The people who walk away when you show yourself fully were never your tribe. They were temporary travel companions, and their departure is creating the space for those who are destined to walk with you. Now we arrive at something much deeper, something that happens beneath the surface of ordinary consciousness. This planetary parade is not just revealing you to the outside world. It is revealing you to yourself. It is activating codes in your system that have been dormant since you were born, some from even before you were born. Think of your body as an extremely sophisticated instrument. Not just your physical body, your energetic body, your electromagnetic field, your chakra system, your meridian network. This instrument has been functioning at 10, maybe 15% of its capacity. Not because it is broken, but because you have been living in an environment that did not require more. In fact, it punished the use of more. But on November 2nd, when the moon positions itself between Saturn and Neptune, something will shift in the energetic atmosphere of the planet. The base frequency is going to rise, and your instrument is going to respond. Jupiter is expanding your capacity for perception. You will begin to notice things that previously went unseen. The micro gestures on people's faces, the subtle shifts in energy when you enter a room, the hidden intentions behind apparently kind words. It's not that you suddenly have a new superpower. It's that the superpower you always had finally has permission to operate. Venus is purifying your connections. And when I say purify, I mean it is forcing everything that is not authentic to the surface. All the relationships maintained out of obligation, fear, or history, but not out of current resonance, will begin to feel unbearably heavy. You will feel a profound exhaustion after interacting with certain people. This is not because they are bad people. It is because your system is no longer willing to expend energy-sustaining connections that do not nourish your evolution. And Saturn, the master of precision, is sharpening your focus. It is eliminating your tolerance for distraction. It is saying your time is sacred, your energy is precious, and your mission requires that you stop scattering yourself. If you have been feeling an inexplicable need to cancel plans, to shrink your social circle, to spend more time in silence, it is not depression. It is not antisocial behavior. It is your system entering energy conservation mode because something massive is about to require your full attention. But here is the part most won't tell you. This activation is not comfortable. It is not an experience of light, love, and dancing unicorns. It is energetic surgery without anesthesia. You will feel pressure in places in your body you never noticed before. Perhaps at the base of your skull, perhaps in the center of your chest, perhaps in your solar plexus. These are activation points, places where new energetic circuits are being switched on. You will have intense dreams, dreams that are not dreams, but visitations to other dimensions. You will wake up with information you did not have when you went to sleep. With clarity on situations that seemed irresolvable, and you will experience what I call dimensional bleeding, moments where, for seconds or perhaps minutes, you will perceive more than one reality simultaneously. You will see the physical world, and you will also see the energetic currents that sustain it. This can be disorienting. Your logical mind will want to categorize it as stress, as lack of sleep, as some medical condition. But your soul will know the truth. You are remembering how to see. The codes being activated in you are not random. They are specific to your mission. Every chosen soul has a unique signature, a set of skills, perceptions, and sensitivities that were designed for the work you came here to do. Perhaps your code is the ability to read group energies and know exactly what needs to be said to shift the dynamic. Perhaps it is the ability to sense when someone is about to make a life-changing decision and to show up right at that moment. Perhaps it is seeing patterns in the chaos that others cannot see and translating them into practical solutions. I cannot tell you what your specific code is, but you will know. Because in the coming days, you will experience moments where something that was always difficult suddenly becomes natural, where something you never knew how to explain suddenly has perfect words, where something you always feared doing feels like the only logical option. That is your code activating. And when it happens, do not question it. Do not analyze it to death. Simply act from that place, because in those moments, it is not you operating. It is your original design taking control. Now we arrive at something the chosen know intimately, but rarely discuss, the weight of conscious silence. There is a moment in the awakening where you talk a lot, where you want to share everything you are discovering, where you try to convince others to see what you see, but then you reach another level, a level where you realize there are certain truths that cannot be spoken. Not because they are secret, but because words degrade them, shrink them, and distort them. On November 2nd, with the moon in Piscis near Saturn and Neptune, this understanding will deepen dramatically. You will experience moments of absolute clarity, where you see the totality of a situation, where you understand layers of complexity that others don't even know exist. And you will feel the impulse to explain, to enlighten others, to correct their limited perceptions. But something will stop you. Not fear, but wisdom. The wisdom of knowing that some truths can only be understood through direct experience, and that your attempt to explain will not only be futile, but could interfere with the very process that person needs to go through. Neptune in Piscis is the master of silent mysticism. It teaches you that the deepest truth is not communicated with words. It is communicated with presence, with frequency, with the energetic field you emit simply by being in a room. Have you noticed that some people change when you arrive? Not because you do anything, but simply because your field interrupts their automatic patterns. It forces them to be more present. It makes them feel something they had been avoiding. That is your silence at work. That is your inner clarity creating ripples in the collective field. But here is the trap many fall into. They begin to use silence as superiority. They start to look at others from an internal pedestal, thinking they don't understand, with an arrogant sense of separation. Saturn is here to correct that, to remind you that wise silence does not come from believing you know more. It comes from the humility of recognizing how much you still do not know. It comes from a deep respect for every soul's journey. When you hold silence from wisdom, it is not to protect your ego. It is to protect the truth, to keep it pure, to wait for the right moment, the right person, the right context, where it can be received without distortion. And in those moments of deep silence, something strange begins to happen. People start to hear what you are not saying. Your silence begins to have volume. People start asking you deeper questions. They begin to sense there is something in you they need but cannot name. They start to seek your company, not for what you say, but for how you make them feel. And eventually, without you saying a word, they will begin to see their own truth reflected in your presence. That is what it means to be a portal. Not a teacher who imparts knowledge, but a mirror who reflects possibilities. A field that invites others to expand into their own consciousness. November the 2nd will intensify this capacity in you. Your presence will become denser, more palpable, more difficult to ignore. And you will not need to explain yourself. In fact, the less you explain, the more powerful your impact will be. But there is a critical warning here. This power only works if it comes from integrity. If what you hold in silence is genuine truth. If your life is aligned with your inner wisdom. Because if you use silence to hide contradictions, to avoid responsibility, to create an image of enlightenment you have not embodied, Saturn will expose it brutally. It will force you into situations where your inauthenticity will be evident to everyone. Why silence is transparent? It is vulnerable. It is solid because it has nothing to hide. So, review what you are keeping silent about. Is it wisdom or is it fear? Is it protection of the truth or protection of the ego? Because this planetary configuration will demand total honesty, first with yourself, then with the universe, and eventually with those who can hold what you truly are. Now we enter territory that burns, territory that many spiritual teachers avoid because it doesn't fit the love and light for all narrative. The truth is this: you are not designed to connect with everyone. This is not a lack of compassion. It is not spiritual selfishness. It is simple energetic mechanics. Your system operates on a specific frequency, and when that frequency encounters very different frequencies, there is no harmony. There is friction, there is wear, there is exhaustion. You have experienced this your entire life. There are people you spend 30 minutes with and you feel as if they drained a month of your vital energy. There are environments you enter feeling clear and leave feeling a nebulous confusion. This is not your imagination. It is your energetic field trying to warn you this is not compatible with your system. But you have been taught to ignore those signals. You have been told to be kind, to be inclusive, that everyone deserves your time and attention. And in the meantime, you have been slowly killing yourself, trying to sustain connections that were destined to be temporary from the start. On November 2nd, with the moon in Piscis amplifying your emotional sensitivity, this reality will become unbearably obvious. You will feel with painful clarity exactly who nourishes you and who drains you, who is genuinely interested in you and who just needs something from you, who celebrates your growth and who feels threatened by it. And here is what Saturn, the planet of boundaries, is asking of you: to honor that information. To stop betraying your own energy just to be polite. To understand that protecting your field is not cruelty. It is sacred responsibility. Because if your field is constantly contaminated with incongruent frequencies, you cannot do your work. You cannot receive the information downloads your soul needs. You cannot maintain the clarity necessary to make aligned decisions. Your sensitivity is not a flaw to be overcome. It is your most precise navigation system. And when they tell you, you are too sensitive or you need to grow a thicker skin, what they are really saying is, I need you to suppress your truth so that I don't have to confront mine. Neptune in Piscis is dissolving your tolerance for this type of subtle manipulation. It is reminding you that you were designed as an instrument of precision, and precision instruments do not function in toxic environments. Now, this does not mean you become a hermit. It does not mean you reject every person who isn't on your exact same frequency. That would be ego disguised as discernment. What it means is that you develop the ability to be in the presence of different energies without absorbing them. That you learn the difference between distant compassion and codependent fusion. You can wish someone well without making yourself available to them. You can recognize their humanity without sacrificing your peace. You can be respectful without being accessible, and for some of you, this alignment will force painful separations. Friendships that end, romantic relationships that dissolve, family dynamics that restructure. Not because you changed, but because they finally see who you have always been, and they cannot hold it. They cannot reconcile it with the version of you they needed you to be. And it will hurt. Because the pain of separation is real, even when you know it is necessary, even when you know it is liberating. But that pain is the price of authenticity. It is the cost of living in your truth. And on the other side of that pain, something is waiting for you. Your real tribe. The souls who don't just tolerate your frequency, but resonate with it. Who expand in your presence as much as you expand in theirs. Those people exist. But they cannot find you while you are surrounded by those who are not for you, because your signal is being distorted by the interference. So the universe is doing the cleanup work for you. It is removing what no longer serves to make space for what does. And your only task is to allow that process. Do not cling, do not beg, do not try to convince anyone to stay. Because anyone who has to be convinced of your value never saw your value in the first place. There is something in you that has never settled. An inner voice that constantly asks, but why is it really like this? What is underneath what they are showing me? You have been told you think too much, that analyzing everything stops you from living, that you need to just let go more. And maybe you have tried to silence that voice. Maybe you have tried to be simpler, more carefree, more conforming. But it doesn't work, does it? Because that relentless curiosity is not a personality flaw. It is your operating code. It is the way your soul navigates this plane of existence. Jupiter, the planet of expansion and seeking, is in tension with Saturn, the planet of structure and limits. And that tension creates something extraordinary in those who are tuned in, the inability to accept superficial answers. You see a news headline and automatically think, who benefits from me believing this? Someone gives you a simple explanation, and your mind immediately goes, what are they not telling me? You perceive an emotion in a room, and your system scans what is really happening here. For people operating on autopilot, this is exhausting. They want peace, they want certainty, they want someone to tell them what to think so they can trust it. But you cannot. Your spiritual design does not allow you that luxury. And on November 2nd, this quality will intensify to the point of being uncomfortable. You will see patterns others do not see. You will sense manipulations that others do not sense. You will detect inconsistencies that others are not even looking for, and this will isolate you. Because when you try to point out what you see, you will be labeled as negative, paranoid, or complicated. Why can't you just enjoy the moment? They will ask. Not everything is a conspiracy, they will accuse. But here is what they don't understand. Your curiosity does not come from fear. It comes from love. Love for the truth. Love for clarity, love for living in a world where things really are what they claim to be. Neptune in Piscis is showing you that there are layers of reality most people never touch. That beneath the surface of normal, there are deep currents of manipulation, illusion, and mass programming. And Saturn is saying you cannot afford not to see this because your mission requires you to operate from truth, not from fantasy. But here is the crucial balance. Questioning everything does not mean distrusting everything. Discernment is not cynicism. There is a difference between being awake and being paranoid. The chosen questioner is not looking to confirm that everything is dark. They are looking for the truth, whatever it may be. They are as willing to find genuine beauty as they are to find disguised lies. Your curiosity must keep you flexible, not rigid. It must keep you open, not closed. And here is the gift of this trait. While others settle for the answers they are given, you dig deeper. And in that excavation, you find treasures they will never see, connections between ideas, patterns in seemingly random events, hidden meanings in everyday symbols. Your mind is not noisy, it is active. And that activity is your superpower if you learn to direct it. November 2nd will bring information. A lot of information. In dreams, in synchronicities, in seemingly casual conversations. And your task is not to get overwhelmed by the volume, but to trust your capacity to process it. Because your system already knows how to filter. It already knows what information is relevant and what is distraction. It already knows when to follow a clue and when to let it go. The question is not whether you can handle the complexity of what you see. The question is, do you trust your own capacity for discernment? Because the universe is about to show you things that will challenge what you thought you knew. And if you doubt yourself, if you seek external validation for every insight, you will get lost in the chaos. But if you trust your internal navigation, if you honor your curiosity as the sacred guide that it is, You will pass through this portal with crystal clarity, and you will come out the other side with a map of reality that very few possess. Now we arrive at the most difficult truth to explain, the one that makes even spiritual people look at you with confusion. You are here, but not completely. This is not dissociation, it is not a lack of presence. It is something much deeper. You are anchored in two realities simultaneously. Most people are completely absorbed in the physical plane. Their thoughts revolve around the immediate, the tangible, the visible. They live completely in the movie of life. But you are watching the movie, and simultaneously you are aware that it is a movie. You are participating in life, and at the same time you are observing it from a place that is not contained within it. This is your dual spiritual architecture. It is not something you acquired. It is something you were born with. It is the reason you have never felt completely at home in this world, even when your life is objectively good. On November 2nd, when the moon aligns with Saturn and Neptune, this duality will intensify in a way that could be disorienting if you don't understand what is happening. You will have moments where you are in the middle of a conversation, and you suddenly realize that a part of you is watching the conversation from the outside, where you are in your daily life, but simultaneously aware of yourself from a perspective that is beyond time and space. For some people, this generates panic. They think they are losing their sanity. They think they are disconnecting from reality. But the truth is the exact opposite. You are connecting to a wider reality. Neptune in Piscis is dissolving the artificial boundaries between the planes of existence. It is reminding you that you are not just this body, you are not just this personality, you are not just this life. You are a multidimensional consciousness that chose to have a human experience, but the totality of what you are is far more vast. And this experience of duality, of being here, but also there, is the mechanism through which your broader self communicates with your human self. When you feel that strange calm in the middle of chaos, that inexplicable peace when everyone around you is in a panic, it is not indifference. It is you accessing your expanded self, the self that knows everything is perfectly designed, that trusts the cosmic process even when the human process appears to be collapsing. But here is the challenge: to live in this duality without falling into the trap of spiritual superiority or escapism. Some of the chosen use their connection to higher planes as an excuse not to participate fully in this reality. None of this matters becomes their mantra. And so they neglect their bodies, their responsibilities, their relationships, all under the banner of being detached. That is not enlightenment. That is avoidance disguised as spirituality.